There was a former Undersecretary of Defense who was invited to speak at a large conference, like 1,000 people. And in the middle of his remarks, he was holding a cup of coffee in a styrofoam cup, and he looks down and he smiles and he interrupts himself. And he says, last year I was still the Undersecretary, and I spoke at this exact same conference. And last year, they flew me here business class. There was someone waiting for me at the airport to drive me to the hotel. Someone had already checked me into the hotel, and I just went back, they took me up to my room. I came down in the morning, there was somebody waiting for me in the lobby, and they brought me to the same venue. They took me through to the back entrance, and they took me into a green room, and they handed me a cup of coffee in a beautiful ceramic cup. He says, I'm no longer the Undersecretary. I flew here coach. I took a taxi from the airport to the hotel. I took another taxi this morning to the venue. I came in the front door, found my way backstage, and when I asked somebody, do you have any coffee? They pointed to the coffee machine in the corner, and I poured myself a cup of coffee into this here styrofoam cup. He says, the lesson is, the ceramic cup was never meant for me. It was meant for the position I held. I deserve a styrofoam cup. And the great leaders all recognize that you can enjoy the ceramic cup. You can enjoy the first class. You can enjoy the nicer office. Absolutely enjoy it. But they're not giving it to you. They're giving it to the position you hold, either in the company or in the social hierarchy. We all deserve a styrofoam cup. And for the leaders that remember that, you'll do just fine. A generation and population that doesn't want to come back to work.
Yeah.
A largely generation that has a different definition of what full-time employment is. Like, who says I have to work full-time for one company? I can work full-time for two companies. But we pay you your full salary and we pay you benefits. You can't work for anybody else. Why not? I mean, I don't think that's been resolved of what the definition of full-time employment is, especially when I don't keep normal hours. What the definition of the value of a job is. Like, some people want to have ambition and they want to move up the ranks, and some people don't. They just want to get to work and make a bit of money and pay their bills and
leave.
They don't really care about progress up. They want to do good work and be treated well. They still take pride in their work. They're not lazy. They're not career hunters, That's something different. But yes, quiet quitting is also a thing, which I have an exception. I don't like the term quiet quitting because I think it's nonsense, and I'll tell you why. Quiet quitting is what senior people say about junior people, right? But when we talk about ourselves, we say, I'm looking for work-life balance. Junior people don't say that they're quiet quitting. What senior people say of junior people. So, but yes, that is still a thing. So I think the way to combat all of these things, or manage all of these things, look, the list goes on, is to be very open and honest about it. To have a conversation and to make the implicit explicit. It can be said of relationships of all kinds, by the way. When you take implicit tensions and you make those tensions explicit, even if you don't have resolution, it at least normalizes it. So to say things like, these are strange times where we don't really know what full-time employment means, we say to the team. Or I know that many of us are still struggling with, like, what kind of careers do we want? And do we even want to work here? Do I even want to work hard? Or what does that even mean? And just having the conversation out loud tells everybody, like, I know. You don't have to hide these things. I know. It's like our kids can't imagine that we ever got drunk or anything when we were younger. It's like they forget that we were young at one point, like all of the idiot things that they do. We've done all those things. I think when you make it loud, it allows for discussion to happen. And so I try and do this even in my company. I try to relieve the tension by talking about these things. So even when we've gone through difficult times, like we were hit very hard by the Great Resignation. I mean, I'm only a small team. I'm 27 people. And we lost 7 people over the Great Resignation, which when you're a little company over the course of 2 months, I mean, it's humiliating. It's debilitating. There's nothing else we're talking about or thinking about. We're not growing or being ambitious or innovation. We're just praying another person doesn't quit this week. I was very open about it. I was very open, like, look, this is a really tough time, and it's very difficult, and I'm struggling with it, and it's humiliating and embarrassing, and I'm trying so hard to do the right thing, and people are leaving for different reasons, so there's not even one thing I can fix, and I want you to know I care and I'm trying. I was just very open about it. There's a group of people who don't want to come back to work because they like working from home, but the same group of people is suffering from increased levels of depression and anxiety. Well, of course, because you're all alone at home and you're not amongst people. You're not building relationship, which is how you manage stress. Relationships is how you manage stress. And so the problem is if we force them to come back to work, then they come back to work depressed and anxious because of the time they've been at home, which only reinforces their narrative that it's work that's making me depressed and anxious and they want to go back home. So there's a lot of that's happening. Because remember how work was before COVID, right? You go to work, and then after work, you meet your friends, and you all vent about work. You have a meal, you have a drink, and everybody complains about their boss, and then you go home and you repeat it, And that's what Fridays and Saturdays were. And then after COVID, when COVID struck, that relief system, that very healthy therapy was taken away because there was no after work. And so all we did was spend time with our colleagues and coworkers on Zoom all the time. And then after work, we just did nothing. We played video games, we watched TV. And even if we called a friend, it wasn't hours of venting and hanging out, joking, and the therapy and the catharsis. It was taken away. And so stress went up dramatically. And because we still want to get it out, we took it out with the person who was willing to listen at work. And what we didn't know is everybody was talking to the same person. And I don't think we realize what we've done to each other, and I'm not sure that that's been relieved. And that's yet another reason why coming back to work is important and why going out with your friends after work is important. In other words, staying at home the whole time is just not healthy. I mean, we're a 100% virtual company, but I've been 100% virtual for 15 years. And so what we were really good at it, and when COVID hit, we're like, another day at work. But we also recognize that being a distributed workforce is actually more work, not less work. Because Isaac Stern, the famous violinist, said music is what happens between the notes. Well, in a company, trust is what happens between the meetings, where you're talking to somebody as you walk into the meeting, you're talking to somebody when you walk out of the meeting, and that's usually where the decisions get made. You bump into somebody, and I guarantee it happened here. You were chatting to people you haven't seen in a while. How are you? Good to see you. And you're getting a coffee before you came in, and you're going to do it when you're done, right? And when you bump into somebody in the hallway, we're like, oh, I meant to tell you. Oh, by the way, that client, let me tell you the decision that we made. And all these little, by themselves, innocuous interactions over the course of time build up in a thing called trust. And the correlation is just look at any friend or relationship. Like, if you have a friend, you weren't friends on day one. It's all the little things that you eventually, a friendship blossomed. It's the same thing. Well, we took that away. And so we as a company knew that. And so when you have a distributed workforce, it's not less work, it's more. Because you now have to create all of those things artificially, because there is no between the meetings. It's turn on Zoom, have the meeting, turn off Zoom. That's it. But we do Wednesday huddle, where the whole team comes together, the whole company comes together, we're small, and we talk about not work. We'll make a couple small announcements, and then whoever's leading huddle, they can do whatever they want. And we go into breakout sessions for 12 minutes with 3 or 4 people, and we just talk about whatever. Did you see this movie? Oh my God, my kids are driving me crazy, right? And it's very human. There's no discussion at work. But we do this because otherwise there's no socializing. And we encourage people to get on planes and visit each other in each other's cities and have hackathons to solve a problem. And we have an annual summit where we all come together, annual offsite where we come together. So we still create human interaction in pockets. And we encourage people to use the telephone rather than Zoom. Weirdly, I think it's a better medium. And I can tell you why. So Zoom doesn't necessarily, so I'm a pacer. I do my best thinking when I pace back and forwards. So when I'm on the phone solving a problem, I can pace. On Zoom, I can't. Or it's fake eye contact, right? So I'm staring at your eyes, but that's not where my camera is. Or you spend the whole time looking at yourself. So you're staring at yourself. There's some great human connection there. Or there's excessive and weird politeness, right? Like everybody's on mute, and then you unmute to speak, and then you mute. Never interrupt anybody. Well, have you ever been in a real meeting? It's noisy and you interrupt each other all the time and nobody's offended by it because it's idea generation and things are happening. And this is why you cannot have brainstorming on Zoom because it's not chaotic. And so I've tried it in small, you can't do it on a big meeting, but like 4 or 5 people, I make everybody stay unmuted. I want interaction. I want interruption. I want a little bit of madness, and it's better, but it's all fake. And I find that when you pick up a telephone, weirdly, it's less polite. And like, if somebody's distracted on Zoom, you can tell when somebody's typing. You can see when they're distracted, but nobody says anything. You just know that they're distracted. Where if you're on the phone and somebody's doing something, like, are you typing? Can you stop typing, please? Totally fine, totally acceptable. I think the phone is just a better medium to actually have a real connection and a productive conversation, where I think Zoom is good for basic stuff.